I feel like we're in a season where a lot of young people are deconstructing their faith.
Wow.
And so if we're not having the difficult conversations, if we're not going there with people, they're going to go somewhere else, because there are a lot of things in culture that are encouraging young people to deconstruct faith and to build an entirely new construct that has nothing to do with the limitations that the faith of their childhood placed on them. Whatever that narrative is, right? Different narrative for different people.
I just want to say, Addison,
Yeah.
we are experiencing that in like record numbers. Droves of college students, young adults are wrestling and deconstructing their faith. So
Yeah.
I want to interrupt, just had to say that.
No, and it's unprecedented. And I know people like to throw around that word, but the truth is, because we are the young generations, the first generations of what we would call the information age, we are inundated with information that encourages deconstruction in a way that other generations just like, they haven't been inundated with that kind of information the way we are. And anyone can be an authority on anything these days. So it is quite the jungle to navigate.
Wow.
And so my passion is, I actually encourage deconstruction for the sake of reconstruction, because you can't live on someone else's faith into that adult season of faith. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, when you are a child, it is appropriate. We are, in a sense, dependent on our parents when we are children, but we are supposed to move through the seasons of development. We're supposed to move from dependence to independence to interdependence.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people get stuck at independence, pushing God away, pushing their parents away, pushing whatever represents their childhood or represents what they grew up with away. And for me, like, I encourage people to deconstruct within Scripture. And a lot of people within the progressive Christianity movement, their journey of deconstruction takes them away from Scripture.
Wow.
And then they end up believing that there is no God. They end up agnostic, or they move into universalism or pluralism or something like that. And so for me, I'm like, listen, let's help people deconstruct their faith. Like, let's be humble about the ways we've missed it as a church, as community. And that way people don't feel like it's an either or thing. Like, they feel like, okay, hey, these people are going to be willing to go into the nuance, into the shades with me. And that's where connection happens. That's where trust happens. I'll give you an example. I did a podcast where we talked a lot about same-sex attraction and gender dysphoria. And, those are topics that people do not want to talk about, because they're just loaded. They're absolutely loaded. And I had a young man reach out to me through Instagram, actually, after the interview that I did. And he just said, hey, I grew up in the church, and I've wanted to run away from church. I've wanted to reject all this. I was about ready to do it. But then I heard your talk, and he's like, can we please connect? Like, can we please connect? Like, you shared things that I never thought of before. And I feel an awakening inside of me anyway. So I ended up connecting with this young man, navigating same-sex attraction, navigating gender dysphoria. And we built a relationship. And, it's the same. I hear the same story. I know y'all hear it, because y'all are mentoring young adults. I hear the same story again and again and again and again. And so we started going there. We started having those conversations. I started explaining to him that everyone's sexuality is broken. Like, that's one of the things, like, that he honestly thought, like, only people who are same-sex attracted have a broken sexuality. And I said, no, all of us have a sexuality that we have to surrender to Jesus. Every single one of us surrender to the work of the cross. Every single. I said, why do you think over 50% of pastors in America are looking at porn?
Wow.
Because they have not learned. They think, oh, wait, because I'm straight, like, I'm good. No, we all have a sexuality that has to be surrendered to the work of Jesus. And so just things like that. And he actually texted me a few months ago, and he was like, hey, I really want to date this guy, but I can hear your words in my head. Like, that's not going to give me what I'm looking for. Like, I'm not going to find that in another man or another woman. And he's like, and it has caused me to dig deeper into the person of Jesus Christ as revealed by the Spirit of Christ. And he's just celebrating, like, what God is doing in his life. And I mean, these are the conversations that young people are having. They really, like, they don't need our Christianese. They don't need our pat answers. Like they need us to go into the nuance and into the shade. I was at a youth conference, young adult conference a few weeks ago, and we were doing a panel. There were 4 speakers for the 4 sessions, and the 4 speakers were doing a panel. And one of the panelists just kept giving like pat answers. And I just stopped and I just asked him, I was like, what do you mean by this? And I had so many people, and I kept asking, like, what do you mean by that? Like, because that's a loaded answer, and that's going to mean something different to every single person in this room.
Yeah.
And I think transformation really does happen within the context of relationship.
Yeah.
And so we have to be willing to go there and not just hide behind our formulas or hide behind our sentiments and our platitudes. Like we got to go there with people, and that requires us to venture into some dangerous territory.
Well, we appreciate the fact that you're willing to have
Seriously.
the difficult conversations with so many young adults that have, not so many, almost every young adult has a question.